If any of this shutdown is having an effect at the corner of Wallen Road, though, it has a funny way of showing it. Much more optimism built around growing prospects for a deal with China that could come to fruition and soon. Now, people have been fooled on this before. One fellow has a very clear-eyed view of the Chinese, and more than 2 years ago had been worried about a Chinese slowdown. A lot of people just rolled their eyes. But he was right. He was right then, and he's right to be similarly concerned about it right now. The billionaire investor and hedge fund manager, Carl Icahn, who joins us exclusively on the phone. Carl, welcome to you, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Neil.
On China, I know a couple of years ago when you had expressed concern for what you thought to be a slowdown or potential problems there, you had got rid of a lot of your Apple stock at the time on fears that anyone in that neck of the woods could be vulnerable. Do you still feel that way?
Well, I feel strongly about China. I think that it's mandatory that we do a deal with China and work it out. I think Donald Trump understands. Hopefully, he understands that how important it is. And yeah, I feel China's extremely important to our economy. That we get cheap goods from China, and we sort of obsess a bit about this deficit with them, which I can't understand because I think that China keeps us from having inflation, or partially keeps us from having inflation because of the cheap goods. And that's what I said a few years ago. I still believe that, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, let's say we do score a trade deal with the Chinese and their slowdown is much worse than they let on. Typically, their numbers seem inflated. I don't know how you feel. The problem would be we score a trade deal, but with a country that might not be able to help us out on that trade front, as the president wants.
Could be. I think figuring out what the stock market is going to do and is almost futile. I think there are too many variables, and the risk of being modest. We probably have the best record on Wall Street, and I don't try to really analyze what the stock market's going to do, in the next 6 months or even the next year. You have to look at it. You have to study it quite a bit. So I can't really tell you what would happen. I mean, if you're asking me the big picture thing, I can talk about it, but I can't really. I'm not an expert on China, and I don't know what would happen. But they do have the ability with cheap labor to produce a lot of goods, and that helps us. And then I think we use those goods, and it's really part of our fabric. But I'm not really saying that we should just give in to them. I mean, the stuff with the intellectual property has to be worked out, and other things have to certainly be worked out. But and we should be trying to do that. I mean, we should just lay down and just let them just do what they want. But they're very important to the whole economy, as far as I'm concerned.
Do you talk to the president much? I mean, I know it was maybe about a year and a half ago you were thought to be one of his kitchen cabinet advisors. You had written a letter to say, if this experience has taught me anything, it is that while there are many politicians whom I do respect, Washington is not for me. So you wanted to disassociate yourself from any talk that you were somehow advising the president. Does that mean you don't even talk to him, or what?
Well, let me put it this way. I think... Well, when you say do I talk to him, I haven't seen Donald since the inauguration, so I haven't seen him. We do talk not too often, maybe a few times. And interestingly, I think that he's done a good job. Again, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but when he was running, I don't get into politics to begin with. So this was unusual for me. But I felt this country was really badly in trouble over regulations. The regulations were strangulating business. And I also felt that, corporate taxes were too high. And I felt that we should be doing repatriation. And Donald was saying that's all these things that I was talking about. I did talk to him about those things then. And he's done a lot about that. And I think that's very good. But I do really differ in his views concerning China. So, I mean, we have differences.
Right.
And I really have not talked to him. Well, I shouldn't say it. We talk once in a long while. And I'm certainly, consider him a friend. And I think he's done a good job in many areas. In other areas, as all people, it's a little lacking.
Well, you were among the first to say, don't dismiss this guy when he was running for president. He has a lot of good ideas. He got a lot of sound ideas. The regulation thing you'd raise with me, I remember early in the campaign, you were prescient about that. The latest drama seems to be on what the Federal Reserve is going to do or not do. And I know that doesn't entertain you, whether you pull, an investment out of Herbalife or any one of your other very successful investments and time those gains. But are you worried, as the president has been, that the Fed risks overdoing it and that it might already be too late, that it already has overdone it?
With what?
With raising rates.
Yeah, I think there's a deeper problem in this whole situation if you look at the whole picture, and the problem really is there's too much debt in the world today, and you just can't keep doing it. And the debt is amazingly $250 trillion across the globe, and you just can't continue to live with that. I don't think, and there's certainly too much debt in our country.